everybody to Cup with Gup PGA final thoughts for the Mexico Open. It is a Wednesday early morning. I will get this posted around lunchtime once again. Thanks for joining. See how this week turns out. Pretty much listen industry, reading articles, all that kind of stuff. For the most part, kind of what I thought we would see, and a couple decisions be made up top. We'll get into that in a second. Midfield isn't horrible, even the more you dive into it. I think there's some pretty good lines you can make. There's some guys down low that aren't that much different than some of the 7K, maybe even 8K range that probably makes it where Rahm and Finau even get pretty good ownership, because I think a lot of people will just take those chances, at least one or two, so they can fit it and build naturally. Now, Finau's easy to fit, but if you want to go Rahm, it's not that much more than what we've seen this year. We've seen some 11-8, 11-9 this year, so the 12 looks big, but it's not terrible. And it makes lineups, not horrible to make, especially when this type of field, your level from mid sixes to high sevens or low eights isn't as wide of a gap as what you would see at a big time major or the Players Championship, something like that. Listener League is in the description. Click on it. I think we're about 65% full right now, early Wednesday. Let's get that filled up. Try to get a bigger one for next week's elevated event. There is a Millie Maker. Seen some qualifiers out there, satellite queues up on DraftKings, even in baseball, NBA, you can look around there. And then, of course, you can play them for the PGA this week as well. Weather, no issue this week, finally. Not for me. Like I said on Smash, you can, for first-round leaders, daily showdown, probably would go early guys, AM guys in general, earlier the better, just because of those afternoon wins that we see last year. And it looks this year, if you look at any type of, I've looked at 3 or 4 different, they seem to spike up a little bit, but it's not as bad even as last year. I don't think the wind's going to be, it's going to be hot. I mean, close to mid 90s. So, I mean, if you want to go PM on some of those guys, you could. I would say that's the only factor I would do with weather this week is all my first round leader bets that I released this morning will be AM. And then showdown, I'll be targeting AM, at least for Thursday and Friday. Once you get to the weekend, you have a tighter window and you're factoring some different things. That could be a little bit different, but no factor at all for main slate for me. Trending to be the highest. I will say right now, I only have Rahm and Finau over 19%. So I have all the rest of the golfers 19-ish% or less. I only have 12. I put this in the Slack last night on my Tuesday night thoughts. I only have 11 golfers, 12% or higher. So once you get past those two, there's a couple that are up there, flirting with 18, 19, could hit 20 right on the number. And then it really flattens out and you can there's still some leverage plays for sure, but it's pretty flat, from there on out. Again, only 11 guys I have 12% or higher. That'll probably change by the time I get final a little bit, but not much. Rahm, Finau, Clark, Woodland, and Rogers. Really no surprise there. On trending the highest, kind of drops off a little bit. After that, you're already under 15%. So really comes down to how you're going to treat Rahm, Finau, and maybe a little bit of Clark, but he's not even going to be that much. He'll be significantly lower than even Finau this week. Now, I would say you could see a lot of Rahm, Clark, maybe, but you could see a lot of Finau, Clark. People are fading those two. They may start with Clark, so you can kind of think about that when you're building, especially 1 to 3 max type stuff. Some sleeper low on guys that stuck out to me once you get through the deep dive and all that. EVR, Ekra, Jimmy Walker, kind of, we've seen Rose come to life. We saw him come to life and kind of, it was a big boy field, so the weekend got to him a little bit, but, the game looked better and, 7,100. If he gets that kind of run this week, not other than a couple guys, it's not as big of a field to kind of battle off. So I don't mind that. And then Patton Kizzire is another guy I don't mind. Moving up for me from Monday, I got Higo, who I liked, but he's just moving up even farther. Potential core play. Hostler, again, I liked, but moving up even more. Potential core play. Malnati was a guy that really wasn't on the radar. Recent form hadn't been great, but when you deep dive into the stats and kind of comp courses and all that, he's a guy that kind of sticks out to me, going to be low owned. Matty Schmid is another guy that similar to Malnati, wasn't on my radar at all, but kind of get through the deep dive and all that. Don't mind him at all. Another guy that'll be that 5% or less type owned. Fade moved down for me. Rom will be lightly owned at best for me. Probably a fade in general. Will Gordon seems to be, I've heard his name quite a bit. He just wasn't anywhere on my radar. Even after deep dive, he still doesn't pop up just all over the place in general. So he's one of the highest in the 7K range, may come in as the highest. I don't mind being off of that. Brandon Matthews probably will be the highest in the 6K range. I'll fade that. And then Batia is a hard one. I don't mind playing Batia, especially if I just listed him because I think he'll be top 3 owned. I think him, Gordon, maybe List, Bramlett will kind of all be up there in the high in the 7K range. I would just be cognizant of your builds in general because I think you could see a lot of Rom, Gordon, Rom, Batia, or both. If you're fading Rom in general, I think the cheaper, I should say, quote unquote, chalkier guys are in play because what I think you'll see is a lot of these chalkier guys are going to get paired up with Rom. If I'm playing Rom, I'm probably definitely not playing like a Brandon Matthews. I think a lot of people go there, or a Brent Grant, or a Batia, Gordon, at least not as much with Rom. Maybe you make a rule that my Rom lineups I want to be off the, Jaeger is another one to probably get paired up. You probably see a lot of Rom, Jaeger, Will Gordon starting points. Whereas if you're fading Rom in general, or even Rom and Finau, those guys you can play. You want to play Brandon Matthews and Batia, Gordon, Jaeger with no Rom? I think that's, or even Finau, but more so Rom is he's probably going to be pushing 40%. That makes it a totally different strategy wise for you. And it really depends on where you're going. If you're like, I'm all in on Rom, I'm just playing him, locking him 80%, 60%, whatever, then I would pick and choose some of these down low spots where you want to get off where naturally most people will fall pairing him with Rom. That's right. So Batia is a guy I probably play if I'm fading Rom, and I probably don't play him and Gordon. Gordon I don't like in general. Batia I do like. It's just I don't want him if I'm going to be playing Rom type of situation, if that makes sense. Guys I'm staying strong on, Rogers, Binion, Jaeger, and the Woos. I like both Woos, Brandon and Dylan. Leverage plays, pretty clear this week. 9K range, Mav, Norin, and Pendrith are all going to be around that 5-6% or less. Very clear cut line between those three and everybody else. 8K range, there's 7 guys under 10%, but the two that are going to be the lowest and clearly lowest, Putnam and Hubbard. So if you're looking for leverage play there, those are some guys you can go to. Underdog, link is in the description, as well as Prize Picks, dollar for dollar match up to $100. Use GUP, G-U-P. The Albatross returns is up, like I mentioned on Monday, $250K in prizes, $10 to enter. So it's just like the one they had before the Masters, but it's just going to be the 3 majors that are left, the PGA Championship, US Open, and the Open. The Thursday 3-putt, I've talked about this a lot. I think it's $6 to enter this week. So they went up to $10. I think a lot of people fought back on that a little bit. Wasn't as attractive. I gave my feedback to them because the guys in Slack were mentioning it. They're down to 6, so a little bit better than 10, not quite 5. 30K pot. It's 7% full right now. Now, again, this is early Wednesday morning, but still a day out. It's only 7% full. I mean, I would really look at that. This is a good bankroll builder. You can take a lot of leverage, load up on all AM guys tomorrow if you want. Go fill out whatever your budget is, but take a portion of your DraftKings budget if you want to. Put $50 worth, $60 worth. Put 10 lineups in that. Put 5 lineups. You can put $30 in, and maybe wait if you want. Have them ready. Have them prepared. But I doubt it fills 7%. I just don't see it getting a lot of steam. We'll see. And then I'm sure after the draft and everything, they'll be close to rolling out. They typically roll out their big best ball stuff for NFL starting in May. So be on the lookout for that. Dollar for dollar match with GUP. Same with Prize Picks. Same code GUP. Dollar for dollar match up to $100. My round 1 plays. I like Binion over Lipsky. Birdie or better. Hogard over Will Gordon, birdie or better. At Patrick Rogers under 69 and Bo Hostler under 69.5. You can pair 2 plays with that and make it up to a 25-1 6-way. You go 4 or 6 or better, you're going to get some money back. 5 or 6, I think you double up right around there. And then obviously 6 to 6, you'd get 25 extra money. You can add NBA plays, NHL plays, MLB plays, 2 more golf plays, whatever you want with that. Always a good product. I'll have my nightly plays out as well when I do my matchups on the betting article for that. My final 5, one and done. I'm going to choose between, I'm going to go Clark, On, Rogers, Higo, and Hostler. Looking forward to it. You know, not as much buzz. Still think a little bit of a lull coming off last week. Some people checked out. They come back this week. They say it's all raw and fee now. Maybe they're just going to put in 1 to 3 lineups. A lot of people just do a bullet. Contests, some are filling at a pretty good rate. I saw the $5 barely over half full. We'll kind of see where that's out mid-afternoon. I do think it'll be a slow fill this week. Then we get a big week next week. Wells Fargo, Millie Maker, elevated event, $20 million pot again. So we'll get through this week. We'll have you covered every day, and looking forward to it. Have a good day, and talk to you later. Thanks.